Let's talk about how I would coach somebody who's struggling with emotional eating. I'm not gonna lie, I love Little Debbie Nutty Buddies and McDonald's breakfast sandwiches. When I say love, I mean I would eat them daily if I was not worried about the health effects. Mix my love for these foods with an acute stressor like a financial crisis or visiting a stressful family member. I may have negative $36 in the bank account, but you're gonna be seeing me in the drive-thru. And while you may not have the same emotional response to, say, McDonald's or something like that, most of us have something we turn to. Taco Bell, a drink, donuts? What's yours? Listen, hi, I'm Candace from Candace Lee Wellness, and I'm bringing you a cup of Illumin coffee. Illumin Coffee is a local coffee roaster here in Indianapolis near 86th and Rangeline. The employees there roast their coffee in the back of their location. Illumin Coffee gives 10% back of their profits to nonprofit organizations around Indianapolis. What they say is they want to bring light to a sometimes dark world. This particular roast that I'm drinking has notes of milk chocolate, hazelnut, and stone fruit. It's incredible. I actually really like it. I can't pronounce it because I'm not good at this. Datera Brazil Bravo. Don't make fun of me. But that's the one that I have in my cup. Another thing to know about Illumin Coffee is that when I rolled in with all 5 of my kids, the employees did not roll their eyes or look at me in disdain. They were extremely friendly, and I would love to go back. All right, back to the emotional eating. So emotional eating is not something you should feel shame about if it's something that you struggle with. In fact, it actually makes perfect sense why we do it. When you eat something that's high in fat, sugar, and salt, or some combination of those things, you're gonna feel really good for a minute.
When you eat foods like that, like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit from McDonald's, your brain releases a huge dump of dopamine, the feel-good chemical.
And while I don't want to undercut the severity of addiction, researchers have even linked the addictive properties of sugar to being 7 to 8 times more addictive than cocaine. The physical thing that happens in your brain when you eat something like fast food or processed donuts or chocolate is the exact same physical mechanisms that occur in addiction. It makes us feel good. When we're stressed, our brains crave these things. So while it may make sense why we eat these things and how it helps us manage stress, we also know that binge eating bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits and McGriddles and chicken nuggets and donuts or Taco Bell or any of the other things that we might use to relieve stress will actually cause us more long-term problems. So what do we actually do when we struggle with emotional eating? How do we stop when this is something we've been doing for our whole lives or a good portion of our lives? Let me give you a couple practical tips. Number 1, admit when it's happening. Recognize it, call it out, tell yourself it's happening. When you feel stressed and you end up in a drive-thru, tell yourself, I am emotionally eating. I'm in this drive-thru to manage the stress that I just experienced. Tell someone else that you're struggling with it. When you bring it to the light, it makes it a lot harder to ignore, and that is a really good thing. Number 2, once you recognize the pattern, you're gonna wanna put space between the trigger of the act and the act of eating. So when you get your trigger, let's say the collection agency called you, or you just had a stressful phone call with a family member that really gives you a hard time, put some space between that event and the act of eating. Don't just go straight to the cabinet, don't go straight to the drive-thru. Give yourself some space. You can journal, you can drink some water, you can go for a walk. You can even set a timer and just sit and stare at the tree. Just give yourself some space. Feel your emotions and process through them. Number 3, if after that space you decide you still want the food, okay, have a little bit of it. One time, it's not gonna kill you. But if you can replace the eating with something a little bit on the healthier side, you're gonna be a lot better off for it. Examples would include going for a walk, calling somebody that you really love and trust, eating something, journaling, any kind of activity even taking a nap. My therapist says taking a nap is a perfectly healthy response to stress. Just do something different than binge eating. Number 4, in between times of crisis, when you're feeling good and you're not having a stressing event, you're gonna wanna think through your behaviors and your triggers. You can do this by journaling, you can do it by going to therapy, talking to a trusted friend or pastor or church mentor. Next week, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the emotional and mental triggers of emotional eating and how our brain processes through those things. That is underlying all of the behaviors that you do is your mental process, and we're gonna tackle that next week. We really wanna change your mindset around emotional eating so that you can thrive. Remember, this is really hard work, but we can do hard things, and we can do them together. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed if emotional eating is something that you struggle with. We all have something, and we all struggle with something. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed if emotional eating is something that you struggle with. We all have something, and we all struggle with something.